Alright, how's it going, guys? It's Francisco back here with another lesson. I want to talk about how we are the native indigenous aboriginals of America and how they like to term us a lot of names, but we do have a name. Especially the Israelites do have a name where we came from, and we're going to uncover that name. So here we go. We're going to start it off with the truth about roots and the hidden history of African Americans. And it's going to be showcasing Turtle Gang. Dope. That's dope information. So let's go check it out.
Turtle Gang. Been seeing you for quite some time. I have never met somebody who has you're one of the most adamant brothers I've seen on the scenes when it comes to telling what we call black people that they are indigenous to this country. There's a lot of misconceptions flowing around. I see you, when I was on Facebook, I seen you post a lot. I know you have a bloodline that you share that you can actually prove. You have history that you can actually prove. Tell the people that are totally fucking confused by all the talk going on in the black community about you're African, no you're Asian, no you're the real Indians, no you're this now. Fuck it, we came from everywhere. People like, I don't know what to think anymore. Turtle Gang, just tell the people, clear up some confusion for them, because I know you're real adamant about that.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say Walagun to walking. Peace, Manishi to all my indigenous relatives on Turtle Island. Basically, when you deal with indigenous culture, everybody on this planet is a descendant of a tribe. Whether you know it or not, you descend from a tribe. Now, all these tribes have their history. A lot of us have been written out of history. It's called paper genocide. Laws were passed starting in 1700s, 1800s, but the final law that was passed was called the Racial Integrity Act, which was passed in 1924. This act changed people it took your nationality away from you and reduced you to a racial category. So that would be Negro, colored, things of that nature. So a lot of us, when you look back on your the census reports,
All right, time out. Think about us today. Barely any of us know what I'm going to tell you guys. But we got all kinds of names. All types of names. Right? Black, Negro, African American, Caribbean, South Pacific, Polynesian, Kanaka Maoli, Hawaiian. We have all types of names. Well, what is our name? What did they call us when we was in America? I'm going to show you that. Let's get to it.
you're going to find that a lot of your ancestors were documented as being colored. Now, when you understand that the original term for colored represented anyone who was indigenous and what they would say Native American and black. Right? But the point is, black is not a nationality. So when they deal with when they say black, they hide in a nationality. Now, a lot of people don't understand, or they don't realize that the actual slave trade started in the Americas and took people to Europe. Right? So a lot of what we call slaves or people who came here during the first arrival of slaves to the Americas, a lot of these people were indigenous people who were initially taken from.
Good point. All right. So this book right here, this is called African and Native Americans, all right? It's by Jack D. Forbes. And the first pages, it'll tell you how the currents, in these first pages, it'll tell you how the currents goes certain ways Like from Africa, it goes straight to the Caribbean. And it also show you that when you use these routes, it takes 4 times the effort, 4 times the amount of supplies, 4 times as dangerous than coming from America to that part of the world. So we have to relook at everything, and we have to understand that if you look at the records, which it'll show in here, it'll show that they brought them there and they were selling them there, and they had brought them back, and they had just included a couple people from Africa and told them, oh, they were there to convince the whole crew that they're all African. So this book is good. If you look at this, it goes up. This is because, so it goes the the first attempt, the first success of crossing the Atlantic by one man could only come from the American side. Sorry. Because the crossing is much less difficult in that direction. A French writer, he said, justly in all probability, that if America had been the old world, its inhabitants would have discovered Europe. Sorry about that. Discovered Europe long before we did, in fact, discover America. This is because of the prevailing winds from the west as well as the currents one can, says Miriam, sail in the straight line from Boston via Newfoundland to Ireland or Cromwell with almost the certainty of fair winds. The other direction requires twice the distance, 3 times and 4 times the sweat. So there you go, correction. But that's still, they're still shining some light on some questions, which it goes deeper than that. And that'll show you auctions, slave auctions from dates that predate our slave trade. And this is not the only book I have, but this is the book you need if you want to talk about the slave trade. Alright? So get it.
And brought back, right? My family happened to be one of those. We have our history, we have our records, we have everything. European, in order to establish, like the first colony established in New Jersey is called Middletown. Middletown sits on the Navesink River. The Navesink is the name of my tribe. Nuwasik, it means those closest to the river, right? So a lot of the history that we have, you can really easily deal with who you truly were when you start decoding the history of the towns and the cities and the boroughs you grew up in. Your family was raised in. My family in particular, we're from New Jersey. We're documented as one of the oldest 3 families that was on record as being here when the Europeans established their first colony, which was Middletown, which is on the northern bank of the Navesink River. The southern bank of the Navesink River is a town called Red Bank. That's where I'm from, right? A lot of these places that we know of as cities, right? I'll give you an example, New Orleans. New Orleans is a French military outpost, right? Where I'm from, Red Bank, Manhattan, places like this were indigenous cities. And when the Europeans came here, they just overlaid everything that we were already doing. Fulton Street was already here. We was already doing trade on these.
All right, if you look into this deeper, you understand that these are ancient waterways that existed in ancient times. And if we look in the parallel to where our cities is now, sometimes even on top of the exact spots, we'll find ancient sites. And you'll find this all over the country, where all these big cities are next to ancient, humongous ancient cities that we don't hear about, like the Mississippian culture, St. Louis, all of these people. So there's so much evidence out there, but put it in a book and we won't find nothing.
Places. Europeans came here and they just overlaid the roads. I can show them proof of this because my great-great-grandfather was one of the individuals responsible for paving all the indigenous pathways. These indigenous paths are what you call 13, I-95, the Garden State Parkway, so on and so forth, right? That was here already. There's 5, a lot of y'all are familiar with the Silk Road in Europe. There were 5 Silk Roads here on this side, coming from the north, the northwest, the south, the southwest, and west completely, right? These 5 roads, these 5 trading routes, all coalesced, or they all met up at a place called the Navasink River. From the Navasink River, you would float your goods up to what we call Manhattan. Manhattan was a place of trade. That's why it was deemed the World Trade. That's why the World Trade Center was built here. Because Manhattan is always in a place where the nations came to trade. Nations as far as Europe,